Hello everyone, welcome back to Bryar Rose. So I've been quite nervous about getting to this point because we're nearly at the end. So remember, we found out Bryar Rose is the fountain, Ella is the fairy warden that was needed, and that the idea of a fountain is it's a person, a magical person. Magic creates a person with 3 types of magic, like Bryar Rose. And that fountain gives its bounty only once every 5,000 years is this person born, and it only gives its bounty then. So when she gives a bounty, apparently then it's death. But anyway, let's hope that does not happen, and we are at the point where they're on the way to the pyramids. Hours later, we're all being driven through Cairo in a stretch escalade that's the definition of obnoxiously large. The vehicle is all black with tinted windows and a license plate that says Bay 1 in Sanskrit. The colonel's driver, a lanky troll named Ijit, seems to think that traffic laws apply to everyone else. Ijit also flew us here on the colonel's jet. Happily, he's a much more careful pilot than chauffeur. The divider between the front and back seats rolls down. Ijit keeps driving wildly while simultaneously turning around to address us all. Welcome to Cairo, ladies and germs. Ijit is a lanky guy with a massive nose and a small tuft of grey hair atop his head. His body is sinewy and covered in leathery grey skin. For some reason, Ijit talks like a bad game show host. The colonel waves him off. Pay attention to the road. Ijit sniffs through his exceptionally large nose and rolls the divider back up. As we continue to tool through the city's narrow streets, I grip the Codex Mechanica tightly in my lap. After so many hours of clinging to this thing, it's like my baby Binky or something. I won't let it out of my side. Ijit takes yet another high-speed turn. This time, it's so fast that, well, it tilts onto one set of wheels on the side. The colonel knocks on the divider. Watch it, Ijit, he says. There's only so much my protection spells can do. A ceiling speaker crackles to life. Yes, Colonel! That idea is a winner. The way Ijit speaks, I keep expecting him to start talking about our lifetime supply of candy bars or something. Glancing out the car window, I watch the sun dip lower toward the horizon. Since we didn't use magic transport, it took us a while to get here. Tilting my head, I think through the timing. The fountain, that would be me, needs to be activated today. But when exactly? When it came to my wolf, I needed to shift before the sun set on my 17th birthday, or I'd lose my inner animal forever. Today is the autumn solstice, but when does the ceremony actually start? The colonel says the records are rather sketchy to this point, which is frustrating. Every cell in my body is keyed up for this nightmare to be over, one way or another. I don't want to stand around for hours waiting for the inevitable. The back of the Escalade is filled. It's like a sort of C-shaped leather couch. The open part of the C is where the door opens. Knox sits beside me. On the rest of the couch lounges Ella, Alec and the Colonel. Reggie made good on his promise to disappear. We haven't seen him since. Once or twice, I thought I saw T in my peripheral vision, but that could just be my mind playing tricks on me. Knox rubs my shoulder in a soothing motion. What are you thinking? At these words, my inner wolf prances with delight. On the flight here, I explained to her everything that happened. For some reason, she's completely skipped over the whole possible death side of the situation. Instead, she's decided that Knox and I are about to battle side by side, and that will be fun. Call it wolfy denial. I can't seem to get her to understand the true danger here, and I'm not sure I want to. In this situation, having my wolf in fight-ready form is much better than her sulking around in golem mode. Knox is wonderful, says my wolf. Tell him that when the Shadowmen show up, we'll team up and bite them in two. Sure, I'll tell him, eventually. This is a very fair way of answering, by the way. Eventually can mean anything. Knox gives my shoulder a gentle squeeze. Are you talking to your wolf again? I shift in my seat. Getting caught having silent conversations with my wolf still makes me squirm. You know it. When she's done, I still like to know what's on your mind. He nuzzles my ear, which sends all kinds of warmth and happiness through me. I was wondering about the autumn equinox, I reply. When do you think the whole activating the fountain stuff will start? Before Knox can answer, Idjit rolls down the tinted partition between the front and back seats. We have arrived! A pyramid for you, and you, and you. Thank you so much, Idjit, says the Colonel smoothly. No need to get the door. That's a strategic move on the Colonel's part. If Idjit stepped outside, we'd be swamped with humans taking selfies, and it would be a big crowd too. If humans get excited about seeing a fae, a troll would send them positively over the moon. Trolls aren't even supposed to exist. The Colonel opens the car door and steps outside. From where I'm sitting, the false Arctic chill of air conditioning is immediately wiped away by the dry heat of Egypt. One by one, we leave the vehicle. The Colonel, Alec, Ella, Knox. And as each departs, my flight or fight response kicks up just one higher notch. After Knox leaves, I peep out the open door. Idjit has driven us to the parking area beside the pyramid, Megkur, the smallest of the three main pyramids, although calling this a parking spot is being generous. Technically, Idjit has left the parking area behind and pulled our Escalade up onto the desert itself. The Megkur pyramid stands about a quarter-mile away, outlined against the darkening sky. Human tourists march around, snapping pictures and chatting. After sliding to the edge of the back seat, I step out of the Escalade. That's when everything changes. The moment my foot touches the ground, a giant bubble forms around me. It's a huge orb that's 12 feet tall and just as wide. The surface shimmers with red, gold and silver hues. Magic. Knox, Ella, Alec, and the Colonel are all encompassed inside the orb as well. We are all shocked. We share shocked glances. Is this what's supposed to happen? I asked the Colonel. You got me, Sugar. For a moment, the bubble trembles, the colours on its surface swirling around each other in an intricate dance. Then it moves outward. The bubble expands high into the atmosphere and surges across the Giza Plateau. As it moves outwards, all signs of modern life vanish. Humans disappear. Old trash and new tents melt away to nothing. Scrub brush and roads are replaced with a rolling desert. Although this gets me thinking, this might be how Giza looked thousands of years ago when Caliber was the fountain. All of a sudden, the ground beneath my feet vibrates madly, throwing me off balance. Knox steps to my side and wraps his arm around me. Earthquake, he says. I scan the horizon and gasp. It's not an earthquake. I point at the pyramids. Look. The three pyramids of Egypt, some of the largest structures ever built, do something I never thought would happen. They move. The ground trembles as these huge stone structures shift closer. Within seconds, all three pyramids tower around our little group. Some of the pyramids shifted in other ways as well. They are all the same height now. I turn around in slow circles, taking in the changes around me. Do you guys see this too? I ask. Or have I finally lost it? I see it, says Knox. Alex steps up. The glyphs on my back feel like they're on fire. He looks to Knox. Is that the same with you? Yeah. Knox whips off his t-shirt. Sure enough, the markings on his back are in bright colours. The glyphs have altered as well. I read the new text on Knox's skin. Activate the fountain. Share its bounty. Inside my soul, my wolf whines with excitement. Why don't these glyphs say to go fight the bad people? She asks. Because, I reply in my head, if we're lucky, the shadow bin won't show up. You're no fun, huffs my wolf. I rub my neck and I read the glyphs again. As instructions go, that's not very helpful. I focus on Alec. What about you? What do your glyphs say? Alec peels off his sport coat and white button down. I don't ever think about Alec in a romantic way, but facts are facts. The guy's ripped. For her part, Ella is doing her best not to stare. and failing miserably. My best friend will drool soon if she isn't careful. Alec turns, so his back faces me. What does it say? He asks. Same thing, replies Knox. Activate the fountain, share its bounty. Well, drawls the Colonel, this still is not very helpful, is it now? Let's try the codex. I look down at the device in my hands. What do we do next? The discs whir and spell out the same answer. Activate the fountain, share its bounty. We all try asking different questions, all different ways. The answer doesn't change. Eventually the codex goes back to what I think of its resting state. All the discs are set showing no glyph at all. In other words, it's saying, I'm done answering the same question for you people. Ella wipes the sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand. What do we do now? We can't wait in the bubble forever. I stare down at the Codex Mechanica in my hands. The answer has to be in this thing, somehow. I run my fingers across the warped wooden sides. The device was originally built by the first Wardens. Then the South American pyramids were destroyed. Later, the Luxalta Wardens designed the pyramids of Egypt. It only makes sense that the Luxalta would build upon the work of the original Wardens, and they built the Codex Mechanica. They built a mechanical device, which means the Luxalta must have done the same thing, build machines. The pyramids in Egypt are far larger than the ones I saw when I travelled through time to South America, but the Luxalta Wardens didn't build a new Codex Mechanica. Well, not that we know of anyway. No, the machines are somewhere else. In the back of my mind, more parts of the fountain story come together. A prickle of realization turns my skin into goose flesh. I know what these pyramids are. Knox moves to stand in front of me. What, Bry? A very huge machine that does something with the magic inside me. When my magic first came into the world, all the power was indifferentiated, a mess. The first Wardens figured out how to divide it into 3, Shifter, Fairy and Witch, 3 types of magic, 3 pyramids. I open up the Codex Mechanica, and there are 3 discs inside here. I think we need them to work with the pyramids somehow. I open up the Codex Mechanica and pull out the silver disc. This is for you, Ella. She takes the object from me. After that, Alec takes the ruby disc from my hand. Knox is last in taking the golden disc from Shifters. That's for Shifters. The Colonel stands nearby with a smouldering cigar set in his teeth. His expression is definition of intense interest. For a long moment, we all stare at each other. Then the world changes again. Like how the pyramids shifted across the ground. My 3 Wardens move across the sands, but they don't walk so much as magically get swooped across the earth while standing upright. Magic places Ella, Alec and Knox, each before a different pyramid. I moved as well. It's like an invisible rope is tied around my waist, pulling me across the sands until I stand in the centre of the 3 pyramids and Wardens. The vortex of it all. I look down at the empty wooden box in my hands. It disintegrates into dust. That has to be a good sign. Fresh adrenaline pumps through my bloodstream. We're getting closer. Before me, the Wardens transform. Knox's body turns all gold, just like it did in the principal's office when I thought he was like an Oscar statue. Meanwhile, Ella changes, so she looks like she's formed entirely of silver. Even her hair changes hue. For this part, Alec appears as if he were carved from a single massive ruby. My wolf finds all these changes wonderful. She prances about in a happy circle. Our mate is solid metal, she declares. Even better for fighting. I hope you're right, I reply in my head. This is another phase-style answer, though. Based on what the Colonel said, once activation starts, we won't be able to focus on anything but magic. I turn around in a slow circle. Knox, Alec, Ella, now stand in front of a pyramid, the disc grasped in their hands. And the pyramids are a machine, so those magical cogs must have a purpose. But what? Closing my eyes, I scan every image and fact I'd learned about the pyramids. Nothing seems to help. Even worse, the Codex Mechanica is now just a pile of dust. There must be some clue somewhere. And then I picture it. The back of a dollar bill. It shows the pyramids with an all-knowing eye atop the structure. What if the discs from the Codex Mechanica aren't just cogs in a machine? They're irises for cosmic eyes. The only way to find out. I cup my hand by my mouth. Your discs from the codex, I call. Lift them up. To demonstrate, I raise my own arm's eye. Nox, Alec and Ella mimic the action. Once all their arms are raised, the 3 discs glow with their own unique hue, red, silver and gold. After that, the discs float upwards. Stopping once, they hover above the peaks of the pyramids. I gasp as I take in this surreal moment. Glowing irises shine out above the pyramids. Desert stretches off in every different direction. The blue sky fades under the first touches of night. Supernatural figures stand nearby, their bodies made of crimson, silver and gold. Perhaps this is it. Magic might be glowing out from those supernatural eyes, sending power and energy across the world. My role as fountain could be as simple as standing here watching it all happen. The round grumbles. The pyramids vibrate on their foundations. After that, they begin to rise, revealing themselves to be far more massive obelisks that have been buried underneath the ground. A zing of shock moves through my nervous system. Did I say that this is it? Maybe it's all just beginning. An image appears in my mind. My aunties once took me on tour of the electric power plant in New Jersey. I suppose it was their way of trying to act parental, considering how they rarely allowed me to leave the penthouse. In any case, when I was there, I saw rows of metal rods lined inside the power plant. Those bars gleam with sparks as electricity sort of ran up and down the lens. That's what these pyramids remind me of. Supernatural rods that conduct not electricity, but magic. Whoa. The obelisks rise higher until their pyramid tops aren't even visible anymore. All I can see are the halos of red, silver and gold light that gleam from the orb atop the peaks. White mist rolls out across the ground. A massive figure floats into view. "Fountain," he cries. My stomach lurches. On reflex, my gaze locks with Nox's. We talked about this moment on the plane ride over. What would I do when the void arrived? In the end, I decided that I'd trust my instincts. That meant trusting the void. Nox gives me a solemn nod. Stick to your plan, Bry. I shoot him a thumbs up, turn to the void and raise my arms. In what's arguably the craziest move of my life, I wave to the void. "I'm over here!" The void rounds on me. "Fountain!" Now that I'm done waving, I lower my arms and grip my hands tightly at my waistline, twisting my fingers in a nervous rhythm. Let's hope this wasn't a bad idea. My wolf, who'd been quietly watching things for some time, suddenly comes to life. "We should run," she cries from the depths of my soul. "The void looks dangerous." No, the void isn't evil. It's here to help us. But even as I speak the words in my mind, they come out, more as a question than a statement. What do I really know about all this? Really? Little by little, the void floats closer. My heart beats so quickly, I'm surprised it doesn't burst. The void pauses before me, all 8 feet of white mist and fury. For a moment, I wonder if I've just made a huge mistake, but then the void's dark eyes crinkle with a smile. "Fountain." I answer his scribble on my own. "Yes, that's me." Dark to light, day to night, magic to void. Reaching forward, the void grasps my wrists. His touch is feather-light and cool as he positions my arms up in a V shape above my head. "Release your power." With that, the void melts into a swirl of white smoke that curls around my feet, moving in a single loop of motion. Then I feel a stirring inside me. Strands of magic that have always been inside my soul now come to life. These tiny cords dance, swirl and expand. For a moment, it seems that's all they will do. Then suddenly, they shoot out from me in every direction. My fingertips, chest, toe, even the strands of hair. Every inch of my body exudes threads of power. Pain erupts across my skin. The tiny cords burn me as they move in their wild rush to free. More chaotic magic shoots out from all around me. It's agonizing, and more than that, it's wrong. There's too much power and no control. In that moment, I know the only thing that can help me. I need the void. From somewhere in my soul, 2 words bubble to the surface of my mind. I don't know how, but I'm certain of what I need to say. "Rise up!" I cry. Seconds ago, the void had transformed into a swirl of white smoke that looped around my feet. Now, that moving cloud rises up until the void becomes a white column that swirls around me, forcing my wild magic to take the same shape. Within seconds, My indifferentiation to power becomes a rod of energy that streams towards the heavens, red, silver and gold. All of the lines of magic are there and winding together. My body cools, a sense of rightness takes over me. This is what's supposed to happen. The magic inside of me is flowing into the world. Only trouble is, it's still indifferent. And that's when the pyramids start to work. The coloured eyes at the top of each obelisk glow more brightly. The mixed up power inside my column of magic breaks apart. It starts with Nox. Tiny threads of golden power reach out from every column to connect with the fingers of Nox's left hand. The golden threads wind across his chest and up his right arm. All the white, a look of perfect calm takes over Nox's face. Without knowing how, I'm certain he must be infused with the same sense of rightness that I have. The golden threads of magic travel up Nox's right arm. From there, they arc into the pyramid behind him. The stones of Nox's massive obelisk glow with the golden brightness. Great arcs of lightning-style power wind around the length of the structure. All of the gold coloured as well. The Colonel had talked about this before. The obelisk will store the power of shifter magic. Then every year, the ceremony of the wardens will release a little more shifter energy into the world. I smile. This is really working. Next, the same thing happens to Alec. Crimson magic winds across his left arm, exiting his right and flowing into the pyramids. His obelisk grows with red light. Ella is last. Just as before, silver lines of power arc through her and into the structure behind her, surrounding the entire obelisk in silver light. A moment might pass, or it could be an hour. Time loses all sense of meaning. All I know is that Ella, Alec and Nox are guarding the power of the fountain, channeling my energy into the safety of the pyramids, just as we were all meant to do. The Colonel watches from the sidelines, grinning from ear to ear. I exhale. Magic is being stored within the pyramids, and it's not different. It's not a mess, either. Each obelisk is keeping a wealth of power for only one kind of magicorum. Soon the annual rituals can start to begin, and it will be a new fountain of youth. A sense of peace and calm infuses my soul. This is what I was born to do. Bring magic back into the world. And every strand of energy leaves my body. It's as if another burden is lifted from my soul. The pyramids glow more brightly, each one shining with the light of its own uniquely coloured magic. It all feels too good to be true. And then, it is. Suddenly lines of darkness drip down the pyramids. The flow of power and magic slows. A chill of terror seeps into my bones. My wardens lose their look of calm. Like me, they all gaze about in terror. Only one presence can cause darkness in magic. The Shadowmen are coming. And there's one person who's unprotected from their evil. Ella. On reflex, I try to race over to my best friend, but I can't move. My body is locked in place. It's just like I was warned. Once the fountain starts to give its bounty, there's nothing you can do until the process is over. I look to Alec, Nox and Ella. None of them are moving either. This is bad. Colonel Mallory steps closer, his arms raised. Silver clouds of fear magic swirl around his hands. Don't worry, he calls. I know none of y'all can move. He glances at Ella. I got this for you. The shadow of him materializes at the base of the silver pyramid. They're all surrounding Ella. Fresh panic and adrenaline pumps through me. I twist and writhe harder. The column of magic sways with my movement. It's something, but it's not enough. I need to get over to Ella and help her somehow. The shadow vein closing on Ella. Terror lights up her eyes. I turn to the Colonel, who has been building up his magic this entire time. Please, Colonel, have the power to stop the shadow vein. The Colonel releases a fairy dust that has been building around his arms. A cloud of silver flies from his hands. As the magical dust speeds through the air, the mist takes the form of long rods. These magical bolts slam into the desert around the shadow vein, forming a makeshift prison. More bars cross the top, boxing them in. The Shadowmen slam against the bars of their prison, but they can't escape. The darkness on the obelisk fades. Power flows from me once more, moving into the wardens and the pyramids. Everything, it seems, is working once more, except for one thing. The Colonel grits his teeth in pain. Sweat lines his brow. I've seen this before. Even though the containment spell has left the Colonel's hands, he still needs to send in fresh energy in order to keep it going. The Colonel crumples onto his knees. The bars of the supernatural prison start to fade. My heart falls to my toes. The shadow bin won't be confined much longer. The three dark spirits stare at Ella with hungry eyes. There's no question in my mind what they wish to do. Possess her like they did Nox. From there, they can easily consume the power they crave. Darkness seeps across the obelisk once more. Despair weighs down on my soul. Is there any way to stop the shadow bin from getting what they want? That's when the answer appears. I'm magic. So I can do what magic did the last time these Shadowven tried to steal the power. I can give them what they want. This is the same thing I did when I fought Jules. I pumped him so full of magic, it burned him up from inside out. Let's see what it does to the Shadowven. Quickly, I call. Let's point our power toward the Shadowven before the Colonel's prison falls apart. Got it, says Nox. I'll try, cries Ella. My heart leaps into my throat as we all strain to move our arms and redirect our magic. Meanwhile, the Colonel falls onto his side, barely conscious. The containment spell is still working, but for how much longer? The Colonel's body falls limp. The bars of the containment spell disappear. The Shadowven float closer to Ella. Tears roll down my cheeks. I'm not sure when I started crying, but I can't seem to stop. It's over. I failed. 1, 2, 3. All the Shadowven fly into Ella's body. She screams in pain as she fights back. The sound tears through my soul. No! Nox lets out a massive howl of rage. He shifts his left arm, breaking the tie with my column of magic, and at the same time, his right arm is still connected to the stored energy of the obelisk. Nox sends a column of golden energy right into Ella's chest. The Shadowven get torn from Ella's body. Ella moves next, the same as Nox. She breaks her tie with the column, pulls power from the obelisk, and then sends the energy right into the Shadowven. Her power pins them to the ground. Alec is last. He yanks his right arm free and points his power at the Shadowven as well, the same way that Ella and Nox did. It's enough to keep the Shadowven from moving, but it's not making them disappear. If anything, they seem to be getting bigger. Maybe this plan isn't so great after all. Screw it. I've already committed, and I'm seeing this through. With all my strength, I shift my arms so they are no longer pointing at the sky, and little by little, I move the column of power. The void shifts as well, helping me keep my focus. Every twitch of my muscles result a barrage of pain and effort, but I have to do it. I must save my best friend. Hell, I have to save us all. Finally, my magic connects with the Shadowven. A surge of energy pumps through them until their grey bodies flash with colour, red, gold and silver. For a moment, the changing hues stop. The Shadowven are shadows once more. Then, they burst into flame. Once the fire died down, there's no signs of them, save for the handful of dust and charcoal. A grin rounds my lips. Good riddance. I quickly scan Colonel Mallory. He's passed out, but still breathing. It's time to finish this. Another haul of effort, but I force my arms back toward the sky. Ella, Alec and Nox retake their original positions as well. Once again, magic pours into the pyramids. The sense of timelessness returns. My body feels weightless as more magic leaves me. All of a sudden, I notice that the flow of silver power is slowing. Now, the column above me is mostly red and gold. I search my soul. Very little fey energy is left. A moment later, the flow of silver stops completely. Ella's connection ends. She falls to the desert floor, panting for breath. My inner wolf howls. Help me, she cries. What's wrong? I'm disappearing. She pants. You will too. The Colonel's words echo through my mind. Caliber died, giving up all his magic. Is that what's happening to me now? Bands of panic tighten around my throat. All the strands of her magic seize necks. The connection for Alec ends. Like Ella, he falls to his knees, desperately trying to catch his breath. That leaves gold as the only magic left within me. More golden strands fly up from my body and into the skies. I realise that for the first time, these glowing cords are taking shape. It's my wolf. She's leaving me, and we're dying. I look over to Nox. He's everything majestic and strong as he channels my power. Unlike the other wardens, he's focused on his eye task and unaware of how my magic is running out. How do I say goodbye? I straighten my shoulders. The answer is simple. Goodbye is not an option. For so long, I've hedged and waited. I thought that maybe we could write our own fairy tale life template, but I didn't believe that could happen. I didn't believe in us. That changes now. I'm going after this with all my faith and heart. After all, love is the greatest magic there is. Nox is right. With love, we can create any story we want. Nox, I cry. Help me. With another giant howl, Nox breaks free from the cords of golden magic around him. He races over the sands and pulls me out of the column of white mist from the void. Our bodies land on the warm ground side by side. The column of power vanishes. Is it really over? With a great rumble, the pyramids lower back into the ground and then shift across the sands to retake their former spots on the Giza Plateau. The void returns to his humanoid form and strides over to me. Please rise. Somehow I manage to stand up on my wobbly legs. I glance at Knox behind me. He's deathly pale and thinner than ever, but alive. You did well, says the void. Thank you. The void bows. Until you are reborn. With that, he vanishes. I'm surprised to feel a pang of loss at his departure. It's like losing an old friend. Still, it's for the best. With the void gone, the bubble of magic that surrounds us starts to constrict as the shimmering spear speeds back towards us. It leaves behind modern Egypt in its wake. Tourists return to the darkened sands, tents reappear. The noise of nighttime voices and dance music fill the air. From the corner of my eye I see T once more. She's leaning over Nox's body. I round on her, ready to confront her at last. At that moment, the bubble disappears entirely. A burst of blindingly bright light surrounds us all. The next thing I know, we're all sitting back in the Escalade once more. All of us, that is, except Nox. My inner wolf growls with rage. T took him, she howls. Can we bite her face off now? No, you can't. But I love Fia wanting to. What can I say? Almost losing my wolf has made me learn to appreciate her, even when she does want to bite someone's face off. Alec is first to speak. Where the hell is Knox? T took him, I explain. That witch! I'll kill her, says Ella. No, there's been enough killing, I say. Greed and anger. Greed and anger was what caused all this in the first place. The colonel presses his palms against his eyes. For a guy who just passed out, he's recovering pretty quickly. Bryar Rose is right. He lowers his hands and blinks hard. If you give me a moment, I can transport you to Knox. No, says Alec. I can do it. He reaches into his pocket. Fortunately, I keep some emergency rubies, just for cases like this. Thanks, I say, and I mean it. I need to see Knox ASAP. And after that, I need to have a few choice words with T. Things must get settled between us, once and for all. Oh my God, they've actually done it. They have actually freaking done it. There was, the reason you might find some funny words, there was some spelling mistakes, actually. There's been quite a few. In the later chapters of the book, there's been quite a few spelling mistakes, so forgive me, I have corrected them along the way. But because I'm just so engrossed in the story and I'm reading it, sometimes I just say what's written and then I realise that's a spelling mistake. Wow. Okay, so not quite over yet. Still have to save Knox. Join me for the next episode as we come to the ending. Many blessings.